where we have the SQL Server and SQL database provisioned online by them. Okay, so it provides us the high availability, scalability, and security. Okay, each service provided by each facility provided by Azure themselves. Okay, so high availability because it is over cloud and we have multiple levels of replication. So whenever there's a failure, okay, we can easily access another subset of that. Okay, so we are going to discuss today what are failure groups and how we can, what are different methods of replication of our data. So we are going to discuss each and every part. Okay. So features of Azure SQL Database, automated backups. We will see how we can create automated backups. And then we have built-in intelligence, hybrid capabilities, and integrated data, integrated analytics. Okay. So what do you mean by integrated analytics? So when in the further sessions, we will see how we can integrate our SQL database with Data Factory, with Databricks, okay, with Power BI itself. Okay, so it is very easy and very handy to basically integrate our Azure SQL database with other platforms. Okay, so yeah, moving forward, let's jump into the Azure portal. Okay, and let me show you guys how you can access your Azure portal. Okay, so to create a free subscription, basically when you open this page, portal.azure.com, okay, you need to open with your Microsoft account. Okay, if you don't have any Microsoft account, you can create it on your own. Let me show you how you can create a new Microsoft account. For example, I use one of the temporary email. You should use your own email. First of all, go to portal.azure.com. Okay, and use any of your email IDs which you have access to. Okay. Create a new account. Some password. And so basically, whenever you get a OTP over here, simply you can put it in the code section. Okay, and that's how you will get a new Microsoft account with any of the email ID. Only if you don't have any already created. Okay, now once you have this account created, you will basically require to provide details as in your credit card details or your, I would say, uh, if or your university details. Okay, so all the students, if you have your university email ID, okay, university email ID means that for example, if you are from LPU, so @lpu.in, if you are from any other college, so that college name.in. So if you have this kind of email ID, you can basically access the portal through that. Okay, so once you open this portal, you will see two different sections. Okay, start with Azure free trial, and another one is access student benefits. Okay, so if you don't have any of your email ID, I would say the college email ID. Okay, you can go with start with Azure free trial, and over here you need to provide your credit card details. Okay, any credit card will work. Some of the debit cards are also supported. Okay, but it gives you a $200 of free credit for 12 months. So if you create any resources and which is under $200 of billing cycle, so that will be free for you. Okay, and if you have the university ID, then everything is free for you, I think, for 1 year or till your college ID is valid. Okay, so that's how you can create your own Azure portal, Azure account. So quickly moving to how we can create an Azure SQL database. So yesterday I saw your portal, okay, and in this portal, first of all, the first thing that you need to create is a resource group, okay. So whenever you create an Azure portal, so you can see this is my college, this is a account created using my college email, okay. So I have already exhausted my quota, so I've used one of my friends email ID to create this free Azure account, which is valid for, I would say, a year or till the email is valid, okay. So whenever you create any subscription over here, you can see this subscription name. Okay. So if you create using a credit card, it will show free trial. And if you create through this university account, you will see this Azure for students. Okay. Now, once you create a new, I would say, new subscription, okay, you need to first of all go and search for the SQL database. Okay, if it is not present in this section, you need to go over the search section and search for SQL database. Okay, so once you click on SQL database, it will give you all the SQL database that you have. I have already one created, but when you create a new subscription, you will have none over here. So you need to create a new one. So we'll go on this create section. And once you click on the create section, you will get multiple options to, like, for example, which subscription it needs to be part of, okay, and which resource group it needs to be a part of. So subscription is the only one. As of now, we have only one subscription, okay, and resource group, you need to create a new resource group, okay. So click on the create new resource group over here and give any name, any unique name, okay. So I will give the skilled temp, okay. And whatever resources now I will create, it will go inside this resource group, the skill temp. Okay. Now I will give a database name. So let's give a database name as Azure DB test. Okay. And inside the server, you need to create your own new server. Okay. We don't have any server as of now created. So what we will do is we'll basically create a new server. So what does a server mean over here? For example, whenever we have gone through the SQL classes, okay, we have seen SQL queries running on our local system. Okay, so that local system is a server. Now we need to create a same server over cloud. Okay, so over here I will give option to create a new server. Okay, and let's give a server name as the skilled DB test. Okay, and location. So what does the location mean? So Azure is having data centers all over the world. Okay, so if you want to have some faster access to your data, so it is always recommended to use the location which is near to you. Okay, so for India, we have three data centers, one in Central India, South India, and West India. So I will use Central India as of now. Okay. So yeah, and authentication method. So what does authentication method means? How you want to log into your SQL server. Okay, if you have downloaded the SQL server on a local system, then it works with Windows authentication. Okay, but over here we need to provide the username and ID and password. Okay, so give the ID. For example, I'm giving it as the skilled. What's happening? Just give me a second. So an admin, I give given a name. You just need to remember the admin login and password. So give a password over here and just click on confirm. Okay. So this will create a simple Azure SQL server for you, and that will be used for your SQL database. Okay. So you see the new data server that we have created is visible over here. Okay. So let's move forward. and want to use Elastic Pool, we will discuss more of Elastic Pool in next few slides. So keep it as no, workload as environment as development. Okay. And then comes the compute plus storage. Okay. So compute plus storage is something which is a very confusing part of our database, SQL, Azure SQL database. So first of all, we'll discuss this, what is compute and storage, and then we will be back on creating this. Okay. So let me first of all share the slide with you again. Okay, so let's discuss the compute and storage, which is known as the pricing model of our Azure SQL database. Okay, so what does an purchasing model means? So Azure SQL database is charged on the basis how you use it. Okay, so every user will be having different requirements. Okay, someone will need smaller instance, someone will need bigger instance. Okay, so based on that, Azure has designed the pricing model in a way where you can choose the instance which is more appropriate to you, okay, in terms of cost and in terms of performance. Okay, so there are two pricing models. First is the vCore based model and second one is the DDU based model. Okay, so what does this mean? vCore based model and DDU based model means that you can select the amount of resources that you need yourself. Okay, now in DDU based model there is a fixed amount of resources. Okay, you can't simply select the amount of memory or amount of storage differently. Okay, there is a fixed category. For example, there's a category 1, category 2, category 3. So either you choose category 1 or category 2 or category 3. Okay, so which means you can't decide how much memory you need or how much storage you need. Okay, it is pre-bundled. I would say the term, it is pre-bundled in a DTU based format. Okay, so if you use one DTU, it is, if you use two DTU, if you use three DTU, okay, the memory and storage is pre-bundled inside that. Okay, you yourself can't change. For example, if you want to increase the number of memory for a particular DTU based model, you can't. Okay, you simply need to increase the DTU size. Okay, so in DTU based model, everything comes pre-bundled. You simply need to use you want the number of DTUs you want to put for your instance. Okay, so it is a as I said, it provides bundle compute and storage packages. Okay, and it is easy for them who don't who are not very much technical. Okay, and who are not going to use it Azure SQL database for very high workload. Okay, then comes the vCore based model. In vCore based model, you can yourself decide how much memory you want for your server, for your database, or and how much storage you want for your database. Okay. For example, you have selected for I would say 32 GB of memory. Okay, but you are not really sure about the amount of storage you will require for your database. Okay, so you will go for the vCore based model, and you can, whenever you want, you can increase the database size, and you can, whenever you want, decrease the database size without hampering the memory size. Okay, so that's what vCore based model gives you. Okay, so for example, there is the graph for memory and storage. Okay, so you can choose any category. For example, you can choose high memory, low storage. You can choose high memory, high storage. Okay, you can choose low memory, high storage. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to use the data, or how you want to, what's your requirement. Okay, so that's a vCore based model. So we have two purchasing model. One is vCore based and one is DTU based. So going through in depth. So yeah, this is the graph that I was talking about. So in DTU based model, there's a fixed graph. Okay, you can't basically choose each one of them separately. Okay, you need to have the bundled computation of each. Okay, and in vCore based model, you can choose whatever you want. Okay, if you want high compute, low storage, okay, it is best for you. So in DDU based model, it is best for customers who want simple and pre-configured resource option. Okay, for example, you are buying a new laptop, okay, and you don't have much information of how a laptop means what's a configuration of laptop, how you choose high RAM or high storage, which is best for you. So you go to a shop and they basically tell you, okay, buy this laptop. Okay, it is having 8 GB of RAM, 256 GB of SSD, and you buy it. So it is a pre-bundle thing. Okay, but you have, if you have a great knowledge and you know for what purpose you are going to use it. Okay, you go to the shop, you tell them, no, I want 512 GB of SSD and I want 1 TB of hard disk as well. So you put that hardware. Okay, so over here you are basically telling him, I want this configuration. Okay, so that's a kind of vCore purchasing model. Okay, moving forward, going in more depth of what a vCore model is. For that, I will go to the Azure portal. Okay. So once you have this compute and storage option over here, you can click on the configure database. Okay. So once you click on configure database over here, you see a lot of options. Okay. So click on the first drop down. You see there are two options you see: vCore based purchasing model and DTU based purchasing model. Okay. So in vCore based purchasing model, we have further three different service tier, okay, named as general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. Okay. So if you click on general purpose, okay, over here you see you can choose the number of vCores, okay, and you can also choose the database size in terms of GB. Okay, so that's the benefit you are given in the service tier, in the sorry, pricing tier of vCore. Okay, so over here you are also getting the option of having multiple hardware configuration. Okay, for example, I choose for general purpose. In general purpose, we are having, I would say, Gen 4, Gen 5. Okay, so these are the different hardware configuration that you get in vCore based model. For example, I choose Gen 5. So in Gen 5, we can go max up to 80 cores. Okay, so for example, I choose max of 80 core over here. Okay, and I choose the database size of, I would say I require 1500 GB. Okay, so I 1600 GB I entered over here. Okay, so based on that, it calculates the cost, how much cost it is going to occur to me. Okay, so you see it is going to cost me around 44,000 uh, rupees every month. Okay, so that's a lot. Okay, so that's what you can basically change the data size, you can change the vCore size. Okay, based on that you can basically take less amount of cost. Okay, so that's what general purpose sorry, that's what vCore model provide you. So as discussing, in vCore we have general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. So general purpose is basically for a person who is going to use it for development purpose. Okay, uh, who is happy with okay amount of memory, okay amount of CPU, and okay amount of input output performance. Okay, and it is basically so it is effective for most of the workloads. Okay, but not for the production workloads. Okay, and it has the maximum of 2 vCores to 64 vCores. Okay, so it is okay for someone who is having uh, someone who is planning to do a light work, okay, or someone who is going to do for development work. Okay, most of the production work is also done on general purpose, but it depends upon how what your requirement is, how much data you're dealing with. Okay, then comes the business critical. So in business critical, the kind of SSD you get, the kind of input output performance you get is of next level. Okay, so it is more faster. Okay, so all these comes in vCore model only, but in vCore model also we are getting different types of hardware. Okay, for example, if I give you in a layman term, maybe in general purpose they're using Intel i3, and in business critical they are using Intel i5. Okay, and next level they might be using Intel i7. Okay, so that's the kind of hardware configuration I'm talking about. Okay, so in each vCore model, you can choose the number of vCores yourself, number of storage yourself. But if you want to go with a higher configuration of hardware, okay, you can go with either general purpose or business critical or hyperscale. Okay, so these are the three categories inside the vCore model. Okay, so hyperscale is when you want a lot of data. Okay, when you are dealing with a lot of data. Okay, so if you see this comparison over here, uh, in hyperscale you can go till 100 TB of data. Okay, but in general purpose you can go till 1 GB to 4 TB of data. Okay, so if you're dealing with a lot of amount of data, then hyperscale is the option to you. Okay, and each you can go till 2 to 128 vcores. Okay, depending upon the budget you have. Okay, and then comes the IOPS. IOPS means the input output operation. Okay, means every second what is the data that you are fetching and writing in your database. Okay, so if your database is very much highly critical. Okay, if there is a lot of, I would say, uh, writing operation being done or read operation is being done, then hyperscale or business critical is the go-to option for you. Okay, but if you have a low requirement, okay, then obviously general purpose will also work for you. Okay, so coming back over here, and for example, in general purpose, I am selecting vCore model, vCore, like I would say 4 vCore, okay, database of 1 GB, then it will cost me like 61,000 rupees. If I go with hyperscale, okay, hyperscale, same, if I use 4 vCores, okay, and yeah, so it will cost me around, just give me a second. So 4 vCores for this will cost me around, I would say, so it is basically, it is having a different pricing model. Okay, so in this they cost you for compute differently and for storage differently. Okay, so it is going to cost me 69,000 rupees for only for compute. Okay, so you can play with it. You can set the different configuration over here. You can set the different vCores over here and see how the price changes for hyperscale, business critical, and general purpose. Okay, so if I go to business critical and if I choose 4 vCores over here, that is going to cost me even higher. You can see it is 1,62,000 rupees, which is a very high amount. Okay, but obviously it provides the best in class SQL database to you. Okay, so this is all about vCore model. And in vCore model, pricing model, so the level is we have the pricing model of vCore and DTU. Inside pricing model of vCore, we have general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical service tier. Okay, and inside service tier of general purpose and hyperscale, we have two compute tiers of provision and serverless. Okay, so provision means you are, for example, I'm giving it as 4 vCore. Okay, so what it will do is it will charge me based on the 4 vCore instead of, in spite of I'm using it or not using it. Okay, for example, I'm not sure, like only 15 days a month I will be using that much amount of vCore, and rest of the 15 days I'm not going to use it. So I will go with the serverless. So in serverless, what will happen? It will cost you based on every second of how you use it. Okay. So if in serverless I choose 4 vCore over here, okay, so it is not going to charge me uphand for the 4 vCore. It will just charge me based on the per second usage of my database. Okay, so that's the benefit when you are not very much sure about how much your requirement is. So you can go with this serverless one. Okay, so that's about all about the vCore pricing model. Okay, now for us, we are only for learning over here, so we don't want to spend that much amount of money. So for us, we have the DTU based model. Okay, in DTU based model, it is more simpler. Okay, we have only 3 service tier over here, that is basic, standard, and premium. Okay, so you can see if I select basic, then you simply need to select the amount of DTU. Okay, that's it. Okay, and you will be charged based on that. So the most basic is 439 rupees per month. Okay, for the basic one. If I go with the standard one, okay, in standard I can select the number of DTUs and the database GB size. So it will cost me around 1322 rupees per month. And same for premium. If I go for premium, okay, it will cost me more, okay, because it is more efficient to us. Okay, so for our purpose, we will stick with the basic one. Okay, and basic one with, I would say, 1 GB of data. So it will cost us around 439 rupees. So if you are choosing, if you're creating your, I would say, subscription using your credit card, you can easily go with the basic one because it is only 239 rupees, and the credit that you get when you create a free account using credit card is around $200, which is around 16,000 rupees. So you are okay with it, okay, by creating the basic one. Okay, so it was a very in-depth knowledge of the pricing tier. Okay, so I will share the same PPT with you. Okay, so once you go through it, it will be more clear to you, and once you create it on your own, it will be more clear to you. Okay. Divyesh, you had a quick question. Sorry, I missed that. Can you please ask now?
Is the $200 that we are getting is completely for one credit card, or just once every month we get $200, something like that?
No, $200 is till when you not like till the time you don't flush it. Okay, if you are not using it completely, okay.
Hmm.
I think the free trial on credit card is for 1 year, okay,
Okay.
or for $200. So whatever comes first, your subscription
Okay.
will close on that day. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so what happens is, for example, you have some resources created in your subscription, okay, and you have reached a limit of $200. So it will not happen that the Azure will start incurring the next amount from your credit card. Okay, they will give you a warning, okay, and they will disable your subscription. Okay, so you manually need to go in your Azure portal and then select that I want to move from free trial to pay as you go basis. Then only you will be charged on your credit card. Okay, so Azure is not going to do like that. Like, okay, $200 are done and you are still using our resources, so I will charge you. Okay, no, it will not. It will simply disable your subscription, and it will give you a warning like your subscription is disabled. Okay, and move to the paid version so that you can again access it. Okay, am I clear?
Hello, Abhishek. Uh,
Yes.
hello.
Yes.
Actually, I think around March or something, I have used this free subscription. I think at that
Mhm.
time it is 30 days for us to use. Is it extended to 1 year?
Uh, I was very sure about the $200. Okay, but for 1 month or 1 year, I am not very sure about it. So because I have in lately I have not used that free subscription on my credit card. So if you're saying it is 1 month, I need to confirm it, but mostly it might be 1 month. Okay, but
Yeah,
I'm not very sure about
I think
the.
around March I have used it. It's for 1 month.
Okay, then it will be 1 month. My bad. Okay, so yeah. So for example, if after 1 month of use you are like not able to use it again, then you can use your new email ID or new credit card if you have. Okay, but if you are going still want to use it on the same credit card, then spending 400 rupees or 1,000 rupees in a month is, if it is okay with you, then you can carry on with the same credit card. Okay, but always focus on what all resources you're creating and how much cost it is incurring. Okay, I don't want you guys to spend 16,000 or 20,000 rupees on something that you are not going to use. Okay, so it is a every like best practice. Like if you are doing it only for learning purpose, then create a resources, learn it, and delete it as soon as you uh, have done with the assignment or anything. Okay, only when you are not on free trial. When you are on free trial, then you are good to go. Okay, so let's create this basic one. Click on apply. Yeah, so you will see basic 1 GB option is selected over here. Then comes the backup storage redundancy. Okay, what does this mean? Let's get back to the PPT. Okay, so yeah. In this slide, you can go through how D2-based model differentiate from each other: basic, standard, and premium. Premium is for development, and standard is also for development, but basic is always for standard and premium is for production, and basic is always for development. So if you work in an organization and if you get a task to provision a database, so you should never go with the basic one for the production database. Okay, always choose standard or premium. If your budget is low, if your budget is high and your workload is high, then go for the vCore model. Okay. Yeah. So moving ahead. Where is that? Just give me a second. Okay, so discussing about what is LRS, GRS, and ZRS. Okay, so whenever you sit for an interview, okay, you always get this question. It's a very common question, like how you replicate your data or how you your data on safe place if something goes wrong with on the Azure side. Okay, or something goes wrong or from your side, like by mistake you delete some data, okay, something like that. Okay, so how we are going to basically manage it. Okay, so for that, Azure provides us 3 level of redundancy. In easier terms, I would say duplication. Okay, first is LRS, second is ZRS, and third is GRS. Okay, so let's discuss each one by one. So locally redundant means we are basically, I would say, replicating our data in the same data center. Okay, so let me first of all give you a geographical view of how data centers in Azure are placed. Okay, for example, I'm in India. Okay, so this is India. Okay, this is Europe. Okay, that's a very bad diagram. Let me create it again. So this is India, and second one is Europe. Okay, so inside India we are having multiple regions. Okay, for example, Central India, okay, South India, okay, West India. Okay, same in Europe we have one as North Europe, okay, or South Europe. So these are the different data centers. Okay, now in each data centers, or sorry, not data centers, these are the regions. Okay, so in each region they might be having multiple data centers. So for example, if you're talking about the Central India, so in Central India we will be having data center 1, data center 2, and data center 3. Okay, same if you're talking about the North Europe, so in North Europe we will be having 2 data centers. Okay, so getting a clear picture. Now in Center India, let me choose some other option. Gift. Now in Central India, we are having these 3 data centers. Okay, and this is the primary data center that I am using as of now. Okay, the one in black. Now LRS means, what they will do is, LRS, it stands for locally redundant backup storage. So LRS will copy your data in same data centers thrice. Okay, so for example, in this data center, the black one, we are having multiple computers or multiple data storage provision. Okay, so they will copy your data in your system, your another storage, and third replication storage. So in LRS, your data will be copied to in the same data center. Okay, but it will be thrice. Okay, so that's what LRS mean. Next comes the geo redundant backup storage. So in geo redundant, what happens is it basically copies your data in 2 different region. Okay, so in 2 different region means it is being copied in India as well. Okay, and it is being copied in Europe as well. Okay, got it. So geo redundant is not always a safe option, because For example, if you have a personal information data which is only for India, you don't want to get it copied in Europe data center. Okay, so whenever you go or replicate your data to different region, okay, there is always first thing that you need to keep in mind is you want to basically check for the uh, data, I would say the data integrity, okay, and data security. Okay, if everything comes in place, then you can go with the I would say GRS, okay, the geo replication storage. Okay, so for example, if I choose GRS, then what it will do is it will copy data in your local as well, and it will copy data in second geolocation as well. Okay, so that is what GRS means. Then comes the third part of, I would say, zone redundant. Okay, so what happens in zone redundant is the data is present in your same region. Okay, it is present in the same region like India only, but it will copy data in some different data center. Okay, for example, this is the central region. Okay, over here I have data center 1 and then I have data center 2. Okay, so it will copy data size in my current data center as well, and it will then copy in the other data center in the same region. Okay, same region as in the central India. Okay, or it can be some other like western India or southern India. Okay, that depends on Azure. Okay, but it basically goes into the some different data centers. Okay, so what benefit you get over here is, yeah, so what benefit you get over here is, for example, I'm using LRS. So LRS copies data in the same data center. Now what happens is something happens at my data center level. Okay, for example, there's a power outage at my whole data center. So in that case, excuse me a second. Is my screen still visible to you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So in LRS, what happens is your data is copied at the same data center level. Okay. If something goes wrong in the same data center, it doesn't matter you have 3 copies or 10 copies, you will not be able to access your duplicate data. Okay. So that's the disadvantage of LRS. Okay. Now in ZRS, what happens is if something goes wrong in one data center, you might be having the data in other data centers. Okay, so that's the benefit. Now, but what happens if something goes wrong in the complete region? If something there's issue with the whole India. Okay, for example, there's a data center in Europe, so in Ukraine. Okay, now Ukraine goes into a war. Okay, so what happens in that case? It doesn't matter you are having data center, your data in first data center or second data center in Ukraine. Okay, your complete country is on shutdown. Okay, so every data you have in that country is not going to be accessible to you. Okay, in that case, the GRS comes into help, where your data is replicated to some different country or different whole subcontinent. Okay, so GRS gives you the best replication. Okay, only if you are not having issue with the, I would say, data integrity or data security. Okay. So yeah, that's what about the LRS, GRS, and I have hands raised. Yeah, Anvesh and Divyesh.
Yes, Abhishek, I do have a question.
Yeah, please ask.
So, you uh, told like data integrity and issues, right?
Yeah.
So, Azure already takes care of that security, right? Then why do we have that kind of issues again?
Azure takes care the security of the database level. Okay, that there is no attack or no I would say no one is trying to enter your data. Okay, security level as in key there is no one trying to access your database from outside. Okay, so that's the level of security Azure provides you. I would say the cyber attack. Okay, so that's the level of security. But the data that you have, the personal information that you have, you need to own it yourself. Okay, For example, you are having the credit card details of a company of user for an Indian company, okay, and you move that data to some different country, okay. Obviously, no one is going to access it, but if you talk about the data security, okay, there are n number of I would say protocols using which you can't share your data with other countries, okay. So there are different laws whenever you go in organization, okay. Then you will be able to understand how these laws work, okay. I think Divyesh has worked with this thing. Divyesh, can you explain this, like what kind of laws we are talking about here? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I think Divyesh is disconnected. Okay, so that's what I'm telling. So whenever you're talking about some cyber attack or something like that, okay,
I'm not
that
disconnected.
sorry.
Sorry. I'm not disconnected. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. So I was explaining the same to Anvesh, like what kind of laws we are talking about over here. Okay. So there are multiple data laws or which every country has different laws. Okay. And in spite of all the security provided by Azure, you can't simply transfer your data to some different country. Okay. Got it?
Yeah. So there is no data breach, but still, if we have any some protocols, then we cannot share the data, right?
Yes, correct. We're not talking about a data breach over here. Okay. But copying data from one country to another country, so that's the level of security you're talking about. Okay, for example, a same organization is having data centers in two countries. Okay, and I'm a part of organization in India, and there is some person XYZ sitting in Europe. Okay, and he is only having access to the data present in the Europe data centers. Okay, but he should not access the data in India, whatever data is present in India. Okay, so if I copy the same data, though he is in same organization, he should not be able to see it. Okay, so in the like inter-organization, it happens like the person in the same organization should not be able to see the data of some different team or some different department. Okay, so this is a very small example, but at the country level, there are many laws, data laws. Okay, you should not basically, you should basically, first of all, check those laws. It is not responsibility of basically the engineers. There are different data teams, data law teams, okay, who basically provide you the permission before moving data from one country to another. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yes, Abhishek. That's thank you.
Okay, so yeah, let's choose the LRS option over here only. Moving forward to the networking. In the connectivity method, I will use the public endpoint. Okay, so anyone in the public who is having the ID and password can simply connect it. And then the firewall rules. Firewall rules means key. If you have any Azure services can directly connect to your SQL database. They don't need some kind of external authentication. For example, I'm having my function app, okay, or function app deployed on some different on some different virtual machine. Okay, so that virtual machine should directly connect with my SQL database. Okay, so it's a kind of, I would say, uh, internal authentication method that Azure provides. Okay, so it is managed by Azure over here. And then you have your add current client IP address. I will set it as yes. So why this? Because, for example, I want to connect to SQL database from my own local system. Okay, Azure SQL database from my own local system. So my local system IP address should be whitelisted. Okay, like that particular IP address should have access to the Azure SQL Server. That's why I set it as yes. Rest I will keep it as, I would say, default. Okay, no change over there. That is more of an administrative part. So let's keep them as default. Next, review and create, and simply create. Okay, that's how you create a SQL database. So it shows you like it is in deployment, is in progress. And once it is complete, you will see a complete option over here. Okay. So it takes around 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. Depending upon the size of database you're provisioning. Okay. Depending upon that, it basically takes that amount of time. Okay. Quickly, let's wait for that to be created.
With credit card, it was not allowing me to select Indian location. I don't know why. So I selected Germany. The cost is
In the
not.
trial, in the trial,
cost
you don't
is-
get the option to select everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cost is not much different. It's for basic 480 rupees per month something. So I also tried to
Okay.
deploy it.
I think it will let you choose West US or West US 2 mostly.
I tried with Germany because it's closer, so maybe it will be faster.
Okay.
Meanwhile, also I had a few questions. So it was not allowing me that public and private endpoint. It was
Yep.
actually
Okay.
nothing. It was by default public, and it asked me to create a private
Yeah.
endpoint.
So it's good. Yep. You can go with the public one only. So there are multiple options which you don't get in the free trial. Okay. But the basics are basically the same. Okay. Few of the most of the administrative part over there, they have restricted it a bit. Okay. Okay, now you see it is created. Okay, now I will click on go to resource. In go to resource, you can see the Azure DB test. My database is created, and over here in the overview section, you can basically see the complete details, the server name. Okay, the location. Okay, these and yeah, these are the two main things. The status. Okay, what's the status of it? So yeah. Let's move forward to other, I would say, how you can connect to it and how you can query this. Okay. So before connecting to a database, let's go and see our SQL server. Okay. So there is a server. Okay. Inside the server, we have the database. Okay. So if a person P1 is trying to connect to this database, he first of all needs to get into this particular server. Okay, so he should have the access of that particular server. Okay, so I will go to the server. Okay, the still DB test. This is my SQL server. You can directly access it from the home page. If I go click on Microsoft Azure, this is my home page. I will search for SQL server. Over here, you can see the SQL server option. So I will be able to see all the SQL servers that I have created. Currently, I have two, but let's open the latest one that I have created. This is my SQL server. If you want to give access to any person who is not a part of your organization, okay, or not having access to the server, so you can scroll down in this, and there's no option of networking. Okay, so networking, you need to whitelist that particular IP address. Okay, so for example, my IP address is 223.239.678. Okay, so this is the IP address. The same way, person whom we want to give access should have an IP address that is a public IP address. Okay, you simply need to go and put his IP address over here. Okay, you can give that IP address or you can give a range. So I will go with a range .0.0 and it will go till 255 till 255. Okay, not recommended when you are working on production environment. Okay, but whenever you're working only for learning purpose, then you can give this range, and I will keep it as safe. Okay, so it will whitelist my whole range of IP address. Now there is two ways to connect to this particular data server. Okay, SQL server or database. Okay, go to the home section again. Click on the database. In the database, I will open our new database over here. Okay. Now over here, I am having this option of query editor. Okay, if you see this option, query editor. Okay, if you open this, you will be able to query the data just the way we were querying it on Azure Data Studio on our local. Okay, so go to the query editor. It will ask you for the login ID and password. So put the password over here, and you will be inside your database. So over here, you can simply run the query. Okay, you can create tables or do whatever you want to do. But obviously, this is not that much user friendly. Okay, what if I want to connect the same database to the Azure Data Studio that we are familiar with? Okay, so for that, we will open our Azure Data Studio.
Can we also use SQL Server Management Studio?
Yes, SSMS SQL Server Management Studio can also be used. Okay.
Okay.
If someone is familiar with SSMS, then it's very good. But Devesh, why I have not used SSMS in this, because it is very much complicated. Okay. So
Okay.
for someone who is starting new, okay, for them SSMS is a hell lot of a task. Okay. So at the end, I will give a documentation of how you can use SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. But for now, we'll stick to the Data Studio as well. Okay. So over here, for the local host, you can simply go and click on the local host and it will connect. But if you want to connect to an Azure SQL database, you should click on this Create Connection button. Okay. And in the Create Connection button, you need to give the server name and database name. Okay. So for us, our server name will be, I will open the SQL database, and in the overview section, you can get the server name. Okay. So I will put the server name, and the authentication type should be SQL login, not Windows authentication. Okay. Windows authentication is for your local. So SQL login, I will give the admin ID and password that I have created. Okay. Let's keep it as default. If you want to directly connect to a database, then you can select or keep it as default as of now and try to connect. Okay. You can see over here our Azure SQL database, which is on cloud, is connected. Okay. Now, whatever performance, whatever operations we have done earlier on our local host, the same can be done over here. In the database, you can see your Azure DB test that we have created. In Azure DB test, you can expand it and you can see the table over here. Okay. I will go and I will write some random query over here, like create table employee as ID int, name I would use as var 100, and I will create one email ID as var 500. Okay, so let's create this table. Let's insert into one. So let's insert this value over here. And if I query this table, select star from right, so you can see this whole data. So all this data is present in my cloud, okay, on my cloud SQL server. Okay. So if you expand the table section of Azure DB test, you will be able to see the employee table. Okay. So that's how you connect to the Azure SQL database from your own system. Okay. Only thing is your your IP address should have been whitelisted. Okay. Quickly moving to the some last section, which is elastic pool. Okay. So what is elastic pool? If I give you a brief definition of it, so elastic pool, what does a pool means? Pool means I would say a resource group, okay, which can be used by any number of people. Okay, so for example, you are going to a community swimming pool or a local swimming pool over here. Over there, you have one pool which is used by n number of people. Okay, so it is one resource, but used by different amount of people. Okay, that's what elastic pool means. For example, you're having 4 different SQL database. Okay, so you have provision for different SQL database, and for all 4 SQL database, you have used, I would say, standard service tier of a DTU based model. Okay, so the one we have discussed, I'm using DTU based model, and in that I'm using standard. Okay, and in standard I am basically creating, let's say, where is my cursor? Oof. Wait. Give me a second, guys. There's some issue with my cursor. So I was discussing about the, I would say, the pool. Okay, so for example, I'm having the DTU based model. Okay, and in DTU based model, I'm having the standard tier. Okay, and in this, I'm creating 4 different database. Okay, so what will happen is I am using 4 DTU models. Okay, and it will be charging me on that basis. But I know my 4 database will not be used for whole 24 hours. For example, my first database will be used for 1 hour in a day. My second database will be used for another hour in some different time frame. Okay, so in the I would say the diagram that you see over here, the 4 database. Okay, at each time, each peak shows you how much DTU utilization each database is doing. So my first one, the database is peaking at 1210. Okay, my second database is having max consumption at 1225, and same as at 1240 is having DB3, and at 1250 I'm having DB4. Okay, so each database are using their resources at different times. Okay, there's not a single time when all the resources are being consumed completely by each database. Okay, so why should I pay for each database? Okay, so that's why there is a concept of elastic pool where Azure gives you an option. Okay, don't use 4 different DTU for each database. You use only 2 DTU. Okay, and share it with your 4 different DB. Okay, and whenever each database will be requiring some compute power, it will be provided from that elastic pool. Okay, so that's what the use of elastic pool is. Okay, let me quickly demonstrate how we can create an elastic pool and how we can use it. So in Azure, quickly go to the home page and search for elastic pool. So you'll see this option of elastic pool over here. Click on that and let's create a SQL elastic pool quickly. The same subscription will be same. Resource group, the one you have created, will appear over here. I'm creating a pool test. okay, and it will be on the same SQL server. It should be on the same SQL server on which you are having your database. Okay, so I will create it on DB test server, and I will choose the smallest pool configuration. Okay, it is also having the same vCode model and DTU model, okay, as discussed. But in basic, the minimum that you can choose is the 50 DTU. Okay, so in 50 DTU, it is costing you around 6,000 rupees. So if you are on your credit card, you can free trial on your credit card. You can easily create it. Okay, but if you are having some paid plan on a credit card, then don't create this elastic pool. Okay, just keep in knowledge what it is. Okay, I will go and I will create this. Okay, so it is costing me 6,000 rupees, and let's create it.
What is this basic unit DTU?
Sorry.
What does DTU mean in this case?
EDTU is elastic DTU.
Yeah, but what does DTU mean in this case? You explained the definition of DTU, but here it is written 50 DTUs.
Yep. So, for example, the first database that we have created, that is of basic service tier, it is of 1 DTU. Okay. But over here, we are having 50 eDTU, which means we are provisioning 50 DTUs in a pool, okay, which will be used by all the databases. Okay. You got it?
It's understood.
Yeah. So my pool is created over here. Now I want to first of all go to this resource and let's see how many database it is being associated with. Okay, so currently I have not added any database to use the DTUs over here. Okay, so it is showing me a 0 database over here. Okay, now let's go and add our database that we have already created in this particular pool. Okay, so go on configure, click on configure and click on databases. And now I can select the database to add over here. So let's click on add database over here. So now you can see the database that we have created is visible over here. Okay, so the pool is created on a SQL server. So all the database that belongs to that SQL server will only be visible over here. Okay, so I click on that database and I click on apply and then save. So now what will happen is the 1 DTU which was given to the database, that will be released. Okay, now the 50 eDTU that we have in our pool, okay, that will be used to power our database. Okay, so if my database is requiring 1 DTU, it will take it from that particular from that pool. If it is requiring 2 DTU or 3 DTU based on load, it will fetch it all from this particular pool. Okay, so this will take a moment. Okay, question in elastic pool.
So we had only one DTU the last time, like 480 rupees, but this time we have like 50 DTUs.
Yes.
Okay.
So obviously it is of high cost, but when you are having 1 to 2 database, it is not required. But as I told you, a scenario where you are having, for example, 4, 5, or 10 database, okay, and you're not sure how to share resources among them, then why not take only one resource and then share it among others? Okay. Now my database is added to the pool. Okay, now let's go to my database. Okay, the database that I had already created. So over here you can see this DB. So in this DB, you will be able to see this elastic pool, and it belongs to the pool test that we have created. Okay. When I open my pool test, you will be able to see there's one database added. Okay. So now that's how you configure your databases over here. Okay. Now moving to the last part of our SQL database, that is dynamic data masking. Okay. is dynamic data masking? As the name suggests, I want to mask my data dynamically as soon as it enters our database. Okay. For example, I have this particular data in my database. Okay, where I'm showing the email ID. Now, email ID is a personal information. Okay. Whenever it goes into a database, I don't want a user to directly see it. Okay. Now, for example, you are working in Microsoft and you are managing a database of credit card of users. Okay. So whenever a data enters a database, you as an employee, you also should not have the access to the card number or card pin that is stored for the Microsoft users. Okay, so that's where dynamic data masking comes in. Okay, so I will show you how you can mask this data dynamically over here. To go to apply dynamic data masking, I will go to my SQL database again. Okay, in the SQL database, you will have, or you will search option for this dynamic data masking. Okay, you need to go to the SQL database, and in SQL database search for this dynamic data masking. Okay, so it is a completely UI based thing. You don't need to do anything manually. Okay, so over here you can add the mask manually. Okay, or the SQL table, or SQL is so intelligent, Azure is so intelligent that it will automatically recommend you the field. Okay, like you have this table employee and there's a column email ID. Do you need to mask it? You can directly go and apply it over here. Okay, and instead of that, I will go over here, add mask. Okay, now in the add mask section, I will select a table. I will select the ID. Okay, and I will apply what format I want to apply the mask. So I need to apply it at email level. Okay, so if it is a credit card, you can apply the credit card mask. If it is email, you can apply email mask. Or if you have something different, you can apply the some different mask. Okay, so I will go with the apply one and I will click on add and save. Okay, so my mask is added to the table in that particular database. Okay, now if some external user who is not the admin, okay, if that user wants to directly go and query the database, okay, he will not be able to see the complete data. He will see data something like this. Okay, axxx@xxx.com. Okay, as of now I'm having only one user. Okay, that is the admin user. So if you query from the admin user, you will see nothing. Okay, because it is my admin user and mask doesn't apply for admin user. If I go and create some new user, okay, then for that you will not be able to see the actual data over here. You will see something like this axxx@x.com. Okay, so that's what our masking means. Okay,
Can I ask a
quickly
question?
moving. Sorry. Yeah.
I quickly ask a question about masking.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
let's say it's a user which is not admin, tries to get the data somewhere else. For example, maybe SSRS or Power BI or somewhere Tableau. Then they will not be able to get this actual email address, or will they?
No, they will get the masked value only. Okay, so whenever you copy a data to some different system, okay, it again depends how you are logging to that system. Okay, if you copy a data using SSRS to some different database, okay, so on that database or on that source also you use some user ID to log in, right?
Yeah.
If you use Power BI, then on Power BI also you are logging using your email ID. Then only you are able to enter the system, right? So over there as well, your ID is being checked. Okay, if it is an admin ID, then you will be able to see the complete data. Otherwise, you will see the mask data. Okay.
And this dynamic data masking can be done on case by case basis also, only for admin and some other users I want to show the correct data, right?
Yes, you can add the users over here. Okay.
All right.
There are some different settings where you can individually add the
Understood.
users. So there's an option to SQL users excluded from masking. You can add over here and that will do the job. Okay. So this is what a feature provided directly by Azure. Okay. You can go and create the masking at the SQL level on your own, but that is a completely different topic. Okay. Moving ahead to our last topic of the day, Azure SQL Data Lake Storage. Okay. Yesterday, I've already explained what ADLS means. So ADLS is a service, cloud storage service provided by Azure, which is built over Azure Blob. Okay. And it helps us in managing a lot of data, accessing the data in a faster pace because it is based on HDFS. Okay. So it basically partitions your data and it gives you a parallel processing power. Okay. So I will show you how you can create an ADLS quickly. So just a diagram of how a data lake looks like. So it gets the data from everywhere. It helps in big data processing for analytics and reporting. Okay, so that's the use of ADLS. So let's quickly go and show you how to create a data lake storage. For that, need to search for this option of storage account. Okay, click on storage accounts and click on create. Okay, so over here you will get the subscription where you want to create a source group. Okay, give the name of the storage account. I would say it as temp str1. Okay, and this name that you see over here should be unique globally. Okay, so if I give it as temp. Okay, so Azure will tell us the storage account name is already taken. Okay, so it should be I would say unique globally. Okay, so let's get as the skilled ADLS one. Okay, so that's a unique name. It should be in central India. Okay, now performance comes as standard and premium. Okay, it is easy, so you can simply standard one is for development purpose. You can also choose it for production purpose as well, but premium gives you less latency. Okay, so you can access the data more faster. Okay, so for example, you are creating some streaming website and the user want to stream some video which is stored in your data lake storage, then you can go with the premium one. Okay, and in the premium you can use the block, file or page. For example, you are having some file storage or block storage, then you can choose it in premium, but I will go with the standard as of now. And redundancy, GRS, LRS, ZRS already discussed. There is one named as geo zone redundant storage. Okay, so in GZRS, what happens is it gives you an option of both GRS and ZRS. Okay, so in that case, what happens is, for example, this is India and this is Europe. Okay, in GRS, data will be copied to some different, I would say, geo only, a different complete continent or different location, and also getting the option of ZRS. So in different data center, okay, it will be copied in India and different data center. Okay, so you're getting option of geo as well as zone replication. So that's what geo zone replication means. Okay, I will go with the LRS. Okay. So in data lake storage or Azure account, you're charged based on the replication also. Okay, so LRS is the most cheapest one. Everything will be default. Okay, no changes need to be done over here. Okay, only thing, data protection enables soft delete for blobs, which means soft delete enables you to recover blobs that were previously marked for deletion. For example, if you delete a data from your ADLS, okay, and it was by mistake, you need to recover it. So if soft delete is enabled, then for 7 days, that deleted value will be placed at the Azure data center and you can recover it whenever you want to. Okay, so I will disable it as of now. And everything next, and okay, will take, I would say, another 1 minute. Then discuss the features of ADLS. So hierarchical namespace. So what do you mean by hierarchical namespace? As the name suggests, you can store data in a folder structure over here. For example, if you have the folder 1, inside folder 1, you can have different folders, and inside each folder you can have different files. Okay, so that's the hierarchical namespace. Okay. Then scalability. So ADLS is designed to handle big data workloads. It is easily integrated with other Azure services like Synapse and Data Factory and Databricks. We will see it in further modules. Okay, it is the cheapest way to store data, and compliance. So this is the compliance I was talking about. Okay, SOC 1, SOC 2, ISO 27001. So these are the compliance that the companies need to follow before moving their data from one place to another. Okay, yeah. So yeah, these are the things which are basically managed directly by ADLS Gen 2. Okay, let's go to resources. Our resources created. Let's go to our storage account. Okay, now in this storage account, so this storage account is basically something which stores all your data. It is not only ADLS, it is basically file share, block, queue, everything. Okay, so go through each data, okay, or each option, you can click over here, storage browser option. Okay, and in storage browser you are having this blob container, file share, queue, and table. Okay, so all our ADLS data that is stored, it is stored in this blob container. Okay, you can directly access the blob container from the left section over here. Okay, so we are only concerned with containers over here as of now. Now what does container means? The first folder in your data lake storage is termed as container. So this is our storage account. Okay, so over here we have container, we have file share, we have queue, and we have tables. Okay, so these containers basically denote the ADLS. So I can have container 1, container 2, container 3. Okay, so these are the different folders in ADLS. Okay, so let's go and create some container over here. I will give it as a demo container. Okay, and let's create it as public access should be container level. Okay, if anyone who is outside the organization and is having access to the keys of our storage account, they can directly access this data. Okay, if I create it, you will see a demo container is created. Now inside this, I can add the directories, okay, which is our folders, or I can simply upload the files. Okay, so this is a hierarchical namespace in the containers. Okay, we are not much concerned about the file share, queues, and tables, but giving you a brief what a file share is. File share is simply if I give you the most easiest example, the file explorer that we have in our local system. Okay, that's what a file share is. Okay, you can create a file share. Okay, and you can attach it to as a disk to any of your virtual machine. For example, I created a file share one. Okay, so using FTP servers or using some internal connection, you can attach it as a different disk to a virtual machine on your Azure. Okay, so this is a file share one. For example, I want to attach it to my server, so I can attach it as a D drive or E drive in some different Azure machine. Okay, so that's the use of file share. Queues and tables. So tables are basically non-schema based tables. Okay, so it is basically used for storing some properties or something, but it is not used much. Okay, then comes the queues. Queues are used for applications where you are basically designing first come first serve technique. Okay, for example, there is a you are designing a system where a person, I would give you example of yeah, they are coming to order something. Okay, the first come first serve basis over there, the queues are designed. Okay, which stores the data of the number of requests that are coming first or coming second or coming third. Okay, so as of now we should only be concerned with the blob containers, which is our ADLS Gen 2. Okay, so that's all about our ADLS Gen 2. In the further session, we will see how we can connect to ADLS Gen 2 using data factory or data bricks that we will be discussing the next week. Okay. Last thing that you just must know is the access keys. So if anyone is having these keys over here, they can easily access your storage account. Okay. So these are basically the password for your storage account. Okay. So yeah, that's it about today's session. We have discussed what is Azure SQL database. We have discussed what is ADLS. It was a good live session of creating them in front of you. Okay. Yep. Any questions, anyone?
Yes.
Yep.
I want to ask about this ADLS and containers that
Yeah.
you have shown. So basically, it is a kind of like SharePoint or not?
I would say no. ADLS is not a SharePoint. Okay. SharePoint is a completely different service where you can save small files. Okay. But you can't connect your data warehouse. You can't connect your SQL database to SharePoint. Okay. You can't store TBs of data in SharePoint and I would say apply some business processing directly over there. Okay. But in data lake storage, you can store n number of data. Okay. Whether it is TB of data or GB of data, you can easily copy that data in your Synapse or SQL data warehouse. Okay. You can easily process your data in your in some other system and again dump it to data lake storage. Okay. So there's a completely different. SharePoint is completely different and data lake storage is completely different. Okay.
Yes. Now the next question about the storage capacity. So is it the same as what we got for server? While
Data lake
creating it,
storage.
we applied 1 GB of data.
No. Data lake storage, you don't get any option to select the amount of storage. Okay.
Okay.
The best knowledge that I have is you can store any amount of data. Okay. There's no limit. Okay.
But
I will
that's
just
not
confirm
possible.
once. Data lake storage. Yes, it is possible. Data lake storage Gen 1 provides unlimited storage and can store any variety of data that is written on Microsoft documentation. So yeah, as I told, it provides you with unlimited amount of storage. Okay, and you are charged based on that. Okay,
Charge based on?
amount of storage you are using.
Okay.
Okay.
But they have not mentioned, right, how much they charge
No,
us.
so I have not ever came across the size of the data you can store. Okay, the best I know is you can store any amount of data. Okay, so yeah, there's no limit that I am sure about. Okay.
Can I ask a stupid question? Last one.
Sure.
Yeah. So it is like then a Google Drive because I can store any amount of data and then get back any amount of data, right?
Google Drive is very expensive.
Yeah. No, I'm giving you an example. For example, I just load GBs and GBs of data on ADLS in file format.
You can try it on once today. Okay, you store I would say 1 GB of data in Drive and 1 GB of data in your data lake storage. Okay. Now see how easily or how faster you are able to access that amount of data in which service, either in Drive or either it is data lake storage. Okay. So Google Drive is only for storage. It is not for processing or it is not for reporting purpose. Okay. And data lake storage, as the name suggests, is a data lake. Okay. It is built over Hadoop and that's the benefit. Okay. It gives you the parallel processing power.
Okay. Thank you for the answer.
And coming about basically the price, so I would say if you choose basically the premium section of your ADLS Gen 2, then as the table suggests, it charges you around 17 rupees per GB for first 50 terabytes. Okay, got it here. So that's the pricing model of them. Now, There are multiple reservations and multiple things using which you can decrease the price, but ADLS pricing model is very confusing. Okay, but it basically charges based on the amount of data you are storing. Okay, and there is no limit of data that you can store. Anvesh, you have any question?
No, Abhishek, I'm good.
Great. Okay. I'll quickly stop the recording.